There we go. What's up, everybody? It's Dog Talk Tuesdays with Daryl Thrower. Thank you guys for joining in. I am live today with Erik Lawton of Bred K9, somebody I've been talking to for a minute about doing a interview with and seeing what his thoughts are on various different things. So, as normal, give me a quick second to get some of this shared out. And we'll go ahead and get it started.
I'm doing good, man. Just grinding, Same thing, different day, man. Just got done editing some interviews. Got a couple more interviews coming up, Just staying busy, bro.
Yeah, you've been doing a lot. Been trying to get caught up with your interviews. I didn't realize you had done so many of them.
Yeah.
And they seem to the interviews right now seem to be focused a lot on the game bred breeders. I saw a good one you did with Ashley Robinson, but the ones with the game dogs, those are the ones that have really been intriguing to listen to.
I've done like 7 with Lee, and then I did like 4 or 5 with Madison Parker, and then 4 of them with Pat Patrick as well.
There you go. Madison, that's Mad Dog.
Yeah, Mad Dog, yeah.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Okay. That's cool. So how did you, while I'm waiting for this to pull up, how did you, well, before you even Bred K9s, and just to let people know, if you go on YouTube, Bred K9s, make sure you subscribe. It is a great channel to go to.
I appreciate that.
Erik is one of the few people that I've seen that can go through the history of a dog all the way to present.
I appreciate that.
In like 5 to 8 minutes. You know what I mean? That was one of the things that really stuck out.
Yeah, I try to keep it short.
That was one of the things that really stuck out.
Well, the first thing I noticed was...
Is that a beat machine behind you?
Yeah, the Native Instruments Micro.
Okay, for sure. And you do music also?
Yeah. Cell 12 music.
Okay, there you go. So make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, it was Bred K9s. So before we even get into that, just starting back from the beginning, what type of dogs did you grow up with? And then, did you own? Do you own now? And then how did the concept I'm going to do this Bred K9s thing, how did that all get started? But
well, growing up, my mom and my dad both had a lot of dogs. My dad was always a pit bull guy, but then when it was just me and my mom, we had a few dogs. We didn't live in the best of areas, so she had, a couple pit bulls here and there, a couple German Shepherds. We had Freeway and Shuggy were the German Shepherds. We had Sammy was I had her when I was about 9-10 years old, and that was my bitch. She was I don't know bloodline or anything, but she was a little game type dog.
Okay.
But she used to she was a mean little shit. Yeah, I'd walk her down the street, and people would get out of the way, and I liked that because it was a very intimidating place to grow up in. And
right.
So fast forward, when I was older, I started doing music and whatnot. Started trying to write my own songs and things like that when I was 12 years old and whatnot. Fast forward to 16 is when I started producing beats. And
okay.
So by the time I had my daughter, and I had my own place and whatever, I dropped a lot of money on studio equipment. I mean, thousands and thousands of dollars. And my worst fear was, damn, man, like, I don't want too many people knowing, what I have. I don't want to come home one day and all my shit's gone, So
right, got you.
So I bought this little backyard bred bitch named China from my cousin, and I was young and dumb, and I ended up getting another dog, Caesar, who was a pit bull American Bulldog cross, and then I got China's sister, and then I got Criminal, another bully type pit bull, and then I got Murder, Chaos. Like next thing you know, I got 5-6 dogs in the house. And,
out of nowhere, exactly.
Out of nowhere, I just became obsessed. I'm like, dude, I've been clicked up with all these bullshit gangs, and man, fuck a gang. Like, these guys will die for me. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It was just
exactly.
like, I would rather them, you know, like that was then, you know, I still kept, you know, my close circle of friends but after a while, it was like I had my small circle of friends, and then I had my gang of dogs, you know?
There you go.
And I just, the more I went on, I just became obsessed, man. Like, and back then I was one of those, you know, uneducated guys too, you know, red nose, blue nose, razorback guys, you know, that didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. But
exactly.
I remember I went to the library and took out like 10 books on pit bull terriers, you know, Staffordshire terriers, and the AKC dog encyclopedia, and never brought them back. I ended up moving out of state anyway, and I just said screw it and packed them, you know.
Right.
But as I got more educated, I started learning about the you know, the Razor's Edge, the Gotti line, and things like that. The more UKC show type pit bulls. You know, at the time I didn't know those weren't, you know, traditional American pit bull terriers, but this was like right before the term American bully was even used. You know, it was just American pit bull terrier, purple ribbon, and I had this dog named Debo, and he was like 8-time G-Dog Scarface, a Gotti son, and his pedigree, and he was just a badass dog. He would whatever I wanted him to do, you know. So then I started getting more educated, you know, about different, I guess we'd call them pit bully bloodlines at the time, and you know, started to really want to train them, see what I could bring out of them. And I remember, but I mean, it wasn't like formal training. I didn't know what I was doing really. I used to, you know, I'd pay a crackhead.
Started working with
I'd pay a crackhead to wrap carpet around his arm, you know, like 6-7 times. You know, get him, boy. And you know, $20, half hour. Come on.
Right. But, exactly.
So moving on, I started slowing down with the music a bit. Now I still do it for fun, but I remember, you know, seeing people walking their dog down the street, and now I knew about bloodline, so I'm like, you know, what bloodline is that dog? And they said the same thing I did back in the day, you know, oh, he's an American Terrier, brindle, red-nosed English, you know, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be an asshole, so I'm like, nice dog, man, that's really nice, but
yeah, okay, exactly.
But yeah, so I already knew how to do music videos, and I already have, you know, a whole library of my own music. So I'm like, man, what if I made one video to kind of highlight to people, okay, Pit Bull Terrier, Amstaff, Staffy Bull, American Bully, and really break down to people, okay, these are the 4 main differences you're going to run into right now. You know, I mean, now we have so many different variations. It's crazy, but, and so basically that one video, I put it on my Beat channel, and it got like 167,000 views just in a few months. So what I should have did was take down all the beats and just rename that a dog channel. But my dumbass took the dog video down, put it on a new channel for dogs, and started from there.
Didn't get right, got
yeah. But then,
got you.
But once I seen the potential, I was like, well, okay, let me keep doing this. It was like, okay, let's do a Razor's Edge video, a Gotti line video, and a Remy line video, and just see what happens. And they racked up thousands of views. I was like, holy shit, okay, there's potential here. And at the time, I'd already been doing music for 15, 16 years. That wasn't going anywhere. We all know it's a saturated market. So I was like, you know, maybe this YouTube thing can make something happen. You know, I was always working in kitchens, and you know, we know how unfulfilling that can be. And so I just kept going, and we're at like over 100 videos now, and over 20,000 subscribers.
There you go.
What, 1.7 million views so far, and I'm able to work for myself. You know, like between that and selling merchandise, I'm straight. Like bills are paid. You know. So yeah, that's pretty much how Bred K9's just, you know, unfolded. It wasn't even intentional at first. I was just experimenting, you know, let's see what happens. And it just jumped off, you know. But
what made you come with the name Bred K9?
Well, that's interesting because I was throwing around kennel names. You know, I haven't started breeding yet. And I'm back and forth. I was back and forth for a while on whether I even wanted to, because the game was so messed up. But, you know, I'm still in love with band dogs, and so I probably will at some point. But I was tossing around kennel names, and I just wrote down Bred K9s because nobody had it. And so basically, I was like, okay, we'll just use that as a brand, because I only really want to promote.
Got you.
I want to promote dogs that'll bite you. You know, I don't want a soft dog. If it's a soft dog, I'm not feeding it. And that's no disrespect to the companion breed community. It's just not for me. You know, if my dog's not going to protect my family when I'm not home, then what's the purpose of having a dog? You know, it's just a bottomless pit of food.
Right.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. Well, see, a lot of people make that mistake and don't realize, one, those dogs that are protective and do have, you know, you and I talked a little bit about it earlier, but do have that edge to them. They're still great companions.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? And a lot of people, you know, they don't get that. You knew right off the bat, even though I've got a daughter, got a girl, I still want this because I know, one, it will protect my home, but two, it will also be good with my child. And I think a lot of people really miss out on that when it comes to just an intelligent dog, knowing it's time and place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Definitely.
But you grew up with it, so you were kind of a little more used to it.
Well, actually, it's funny because outside of my dogs that I grew up around, I was terrified of dogs, because in my neighborhood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, originally, outside of my dog. Now, I love the dogs that, you know, my mom had and, you know, that the family had. I love those dogs. But I was scared of the neighborhood dogs, man. These guys were taking pit bulls and crossing them with bull mastiffs. And they were, and that was still, you know, I never seen that before. They were calling them Terminator dogs. And these dogs were scary as hell. Like, they had a dog, my boys down the street had a dog named Cujo. And when I say his paw hanging off the window of the porch was like that, it was like that, with his two paws hanging over the windowsill.
Right.
And he'd see you and let out this deep, you know, and it's holy shit, dude. Like, please stay where you're at. Like,
exactly.
I mean, he would never run out of the yard or anything. He wasn't on a chain or nothing, but you would have to, you know, if I wanted to get a hold of one of my friends, I'd have to just sit there and yell from the street, you know, like, yo, come get the dog, man. Like, you know, you guys want to, you know, go post up, go hang out or whatever, get the dog. But so it wasn't until I started getting dogs of my own as a grown man that I was like, man, it's not really what most people think it is when they see a vicious dog barking. And 9 out of 10, after that, if I'd see a dog in the street, I'd try to stay out of its way. But if not, just hold your ground. 9 out of 10, he doesn't want to bite you unless he has to.
Exactly.
Unless he's a straight spaz. Now, I have seen some of that.
Right.
But I mean, knock on wood, I've never been bitten. Unless it was an accident. I've had my hand chomped by accident before.
I've had it too.
But yeah. So I mean, that's the story.
That's cool. So now you start Bred. Now, did you when I first started seeing Battle Bred K9, it was more you going over different breeds. And then I saw the interviews. Did the interviews come first, or did you just start it off? I'm just gonna go over different breeds. Was that the original concept of Battle Bred?
Yeah, that was the first. Actually, I did the Remy line video, and then Tilo from Ruckus Kennels hit me up, and it was like, that's not the whole story, yada yada yada. So I was like, okay, let's do this then. Why don't I, plug the phone into the audio recording unit, and then plug in the microphone and see if I could do like a audio to audio interview. And it worked out.
Gotcha.
And then eventually I even got, Fade from Remy Line on it too, on a separate interview. But I figured, okay, give everybody, the two sides of the story, let everybody speak their piece.
Right.
But then it was like, man, this is a great way to educate people by getting people, in these interviews, and then really asking them the questions. Obviously, a lot of the game dog guys, they won't really talk about certain aspects, but it's cool just to be able to get the actual breeder on the phone, especially these older guys, that have been in the game so long.
Gotcha.
And I get them on the phone, and it's like walking through a museum, because I mean they'll send you all kind of photos and different things that you can't just Google, which, I mean, a lot of the photos I did find on Google, but there's some photos that some of these guys have sent me that you can't just go find on Google. You can't find it on a pedigree website. Right, exactly. So, the breed videos definitely came first, but the interviews were a great way to not only help educate people, but it also helped rack up a lot of numbers as well.
Got you. Exactly. What would you say as far as the interviews? Actually, going back to the breed videos, which ones, because you can tell, anybody can tell that not only do you know the dogs, but you're also doing your homework, before the videos. Which would you say, as far as doing just the breed videos, which ones kind of stood out to you more than so-called others? Like, were there times you did a video and you just totally didn't know something till you actually got ready to do the video, or was it more? Were there any that stood out doing?
Well, there was certain videos where I would get comments that, like, damn, I didn't know that, I should have included that, or damn, I got that story a little bit twisted. The Alapaha Blue Blood Bulldog, for example, I did a video on that going by, the actual registry website. Little did I know it was actually Lana Lou Lane who created that, and then it kind of went different directions. So I think my favorite videos still to this day were the original three. I took down the first one because some things changed a little bit that I wanted to, I guess, retake on, which I'm gonna end up doing at some point. But the Gotti line, the Razor's Edge, and the Remy line video were the ones that I had the most fun with before it became like, okay, this is a job now. You got to do this, and you got to release every so often, But honestly, for those that don't know, I'm working on like an actual full docu-series, and where it's going to go a lot deeper than I went. Right now, I only have the audio done for episode 1. And that kind of, it's giving the story that I just gave you about, how I grew up. And then it also is getting into the original Bulldog of the 1800s. And then I'm going to start covering the Bulldog breeds, like in each episode. And then it's going to move to the Terrier breeds, the working Terrier breeds. Then it's going to, to the Bull and Terrier cross. And then from there on, and then eventually cover the Molosser breeds. So it's going to go a lot deeper. It's going to go a lot deeper than what my channel's done so far. Like I'm really trying to get that cinematic edge on this go around. But
okay,
we'll see what happens.
That's cool. That's cool. So what would you say now that you've been doing this? Which would you say are your favorite? Because you just got a Borbell, right?
Yeah. I just got a Borbell Yoshi. That was back in February. He's actually he's actually knocked out right now, but I don't know if you can see him.
There he is.
But
okay.
Yeah, I got my Borbell, and then I got my Roddy Jax, and then I got just my little house pit mix, Millie. She's just our little firecracker. You know,
Right.
if anybody has any, you know, rat problems or anything like that, yeah, she'll take care of that. She's a maniac, but
exactly.
She's fixed though. But I do plan on doing more with Yoshi. I really want to build up his defense drives, but he's only 9 months old right now, 10 months old. So we're gonna work him slowly, and if everything works out, I plan on probably getting a Sorrel's dog from Lee, a bitch from him, and just as an experimental cross to see what happens. And we've even discussed like maybe taking the offspring of that, if that works out, back to a Sentinel, male. So it'll be kind of an American Sentinel with like a Borbell touch, you know.
But let me ask you that. So, because in the bully community, especially with the XLs, if somebody doesn't like your XL, first thing they say, "Oh, that's just a band dog." They love saying that. Mm-hmm. Ignorantly, due to the fact they don't really know what a band dog is. You know what I mean? They think a band dog is just any mix of big dogs. You know. And so there's a lot of times, sometimes I don't feel like it, but most times I'll kind of let them know, like, look, just because you threw a Mastiff together doesn't make it a band dog. And every XL bully that you happen to not like doesn't make a band dog. What made you get into the band dogs? Like you talk, and for some people who don't know, H. Lee Robinson is a breeder of band dogs who has finally taken his band dogs, and rather than bringing other breeds back into it like he does, he's sticking with his yard, and he's created his own breed. And I'm not sure how far into it he is, but he started his own breed, which is the American Sentinel. So he's like a breed of band dogs.
He's a bit over 20 years in Lee's program.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, honestly.
So
go ahead.
So I was just gonna ask you, what made you? Because I want to say I've seen times before where you did speak about the XL bully. What made you kind of say, all right, I'm not going to go with pit bulls. I'm not going to go with the Rottweiler. Not going to go with the XL bully. I think I'm going to get this Borbell, and I think I'm going to go the band dog route. What made you make that choice?
Well, I say first off, I'll say the XL bully has definitely come far enough to where it's pretty much in a lane of its own. I don't agree with the fact that the Merle gene has become popular, because in my opinion, if it's done correctly, there's nothing wrong with it. But you can't tell me that wasn't adding a new gene to an already established gene pool. You see what I mean? So it was like, if I see Merle XL dogs popping up, my thought is, well, now you just screwed up everything, because it was already to the point where it could have the XL could have started to be refined by now, you know? But you added more to the gene pool. And I was actually talking to Craig Spice about that when we had our interview. It was a move in the wrong direction as far as I'm concerned for the bully community. Now, me and the wife actually went back and forth considering getting into XL bullies years back. But the reason we didn't was, one, the Merle gene, and two, it was way too popular now. And with that popularity comes a lot of salesmen, a lot of liars, a lot of people who are not dog men, they're just marketers. But
yes.
now the Rottweiler, I love the Rottweiler. I own one. He's 8 years old now. Great dog. He does have some rank issues, never towards me, but towards, you know, the other dogs.
Right.
But I live in South Carolina. It's too damn hot for that double coat. So those are two reasons that I wouldn't breed Rottweilers. Band dogs, on the other hand, as long as you check those boxes that you're looking for, and well, let me re-say that. As long as you check the boxes of what a band dog is, good prey, good defense, good fight drive, you know, there has to be a certain level of gameness in a band dog. You know, if you break into my house and you punch my dog and all of a sudden he quits, then that's not a band dog. You know, a band dog is no, you have to die because, you know, my family is unsafe and you're the you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, but the other thing outside of checking those boxes is the band dog gives you a little room for creativity, because I feel like kennel clubs, show kennel clubs, I'll say, kind of ruin breeds because they're focused too much on physical standard as opposed to health and performance. If a dog, if all you're looking for is the big head, now I have nothing against a fat head, a big chest, you know, a bulky dog. I love that. But if that's all you're looking for and that's all you're breeding for, and then you're breeding for color as well, the health and the performance is going to slowly but surely die off in your whole line. I was always a fan of Lee Robinson. I mean, for years. It was just a few years back that I got him on the phone and said, "Hey, would you want to do an interview?" Yada yada yada. Well, not a few years, even 2 years maybe. Shit, not even that. No, it was. I got him on the phone a few years ago, asking him about the prices of his
you know
dogs.
because
and then like
it wasn't that long, because I actually did an interview with him, and
I remember that. That.
And it wasn't that long ago when you
So no, when I first spoke to him was a few years ago, and I'd hit him up here and there, just asking questions. It wasn't until was 2021 now. No, it wasn't. It wasn't until last year actually. So I was like, hey, you know, we spoke a couple times. I've been interested in your dogs forever. Would you want to do an interview? And at first he was like, you know, what kind of interview? What are you going to be talking about? You know, this kind of thing. And and eventually he's like, yeah, all right. And we ended up, you know, really clicking. You know, he's a really good dude, a really good mentor. And I got nothing but respect for him. A really good dude. And my favorite dog, I can say, that I've ever seen, period, is American Sentinel's Jackson. Now, this is a dog that died a while back. But it's like he looks like a larger Mayday, you know, or you know, a larger Jeep or something like that. Just he didn't have his ears cropped. He had the full drop ears, nice stretched out body in the picture, like he was ready to rock. And I was just like, wow, I like that. That's what I want right there. So
there you go.
So I figured, like, okay, how can I take, you know, pit bulls and American Sentinels, and with my own flavor, I want to replicate that. I want, like, if and when I start breeding, it's not really an if, it's, I'll say a 90% when. I'm just going to call it the Lawton dog, whatever. Just, it's a band dog. Oh, that's a Lawton dog, you know, but it's,
right.
I hope to replicate that dog. That's what I want. So I figured the Boer Bull would help with that, because, you know, they have a bigger head, a slightly bigger head than most Mastiffs. And they're the most agile of all Mastiffs. And not only that, they're very heat tolerant. So I was like, okay, that would be the starting ingredient then. And then Roman Price from Integrity Boer Bull Kennels blessed me with Yoshi. He's a good friend of mine, and wanted to, you know, throw a dog at me and see what I would do. And he actually let me pick like right off top what I wanted. And so big shouts to Roman A. Price from Integrity Boar Bull Kennels. I mean, he handed me a phenomenal dog. This dog just, I mean, he's already almost bigger than my Rottweiler. And just, I mean, chiseled, bro, chiseled. Like when he pulls on that leash, everybody thinks my Rottweiler's huge. He's only 98 to maybe 105 at most. 26 or 28 inches at the withers. And great looking Rottweiler, very, very athletic. But yeah, Yoshi is catching up to him like too fast, man, too fast. And he's only 10 months.
Right.
But when he pulls and flexes, man, he looks like, I don't know, man, he looks like Brock Lesnar or something, you know, like his shoulders just pop way out. Like maybe I'm biased, but I think it's the best looking boar bull I've ever seen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
There you go. So so now you're looking at getting into the boar bull. When it comes, because you know I'm more focused on XL. So just to kind of get into that a little bit, what was your initial, like you said, you talked to Fabian with Remy Line, and you spoke with Gotti people. I want to say you did an interview with Gary Moore.
Yeah.
With Gray Line.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I first, bullies didn't exist at the time, but when in the beginning, I started hearing about the Gray Line dogs. I was heavy into the game dogs. Then living here in LA, started hearing about the Gray Line dogs and that the Moore brothers had going on. And at first I was like, blue. We were all just kind of ignorantly, you know, if it's blue, you don't want it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but when I started getting friends, I want to say one of the first friends that I had was probably mid to late 90s. But he had gotten a Gray Line dog that he was planning on, I forget what he had that he was crossing it with. But he started getting lived in Pasadena. A lot of people in Pasadena, for whatever reason, started getting into the band dogs. And so he had gotten a Gray Line dog. And that was my first time really getting to look at one and deal with one. And I was impressed. You know, I liked his temperament, was very protective of the home. Then I started hearing about, you know, Razor's Edge probably a year or two after that. Then I started hearing about the Gotti. Then I was kind of out of that scene and doing my own thing. I got real heavy into, you know, hunting dogs. And then when I kind of got back to the street environment, all of a sudden it was these American bullies. What was your first, you know, impression when it came to like the American bully? You know, was it a concept at the time? Was it a breed, you know, at the time? What was your first overall impression?
What was that dog I seen? I forgot who owns it. Arnold the Terminator, the big blue dog, the XL. Might have been Bossy Kennels.
Arnold the Terminator. I think she did have a dog, Arnold the. Yeah, you know,
the big blue dog.
BGK were just talking about. Yes.
Big blue dog.
That was
I first saw him on the internet. This was 2010, maybe 2011, when I first saw a photo of him. And I started knowing what I already knew about the Gotti line and the Razor's Edge and things like that. Didn't know about the Remy line yet, but I saw a picture of Arnold the Terminator on Google, and I said, man, what is that? Like, how much? You know, and it was
right.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, dude, look at that dog. Like that's what I wanted at first. It wasn't until later on that and again, no disrespect to the XL community, it wasn't until later on that I felt like, you know, a dog that heavy isn't going to be as agile, isn't going to be won't have as much prey drive. I mean, I know some of them still have a lot of prey drive, but not as much as a more athletic dog. Then I saw Remy. I saw Remy Martin, and I know a lot of people, you know, they have a lot to say, good and bad, about Remy line. I saw Remy Martin, and his color, his look, his headpiece, everything just blew me away. I was like,
that
wow,
brick color, yeah,
that color.
yeah.
I know it's kind of taboo to speak on a dog's color first, but that
it grabs you.
That deep red almost, or whatever it was, with that black mask and everything. I was just like, holy shit. The more I looked at his pictures, the more I thought, well, I'd like to take him up in height a few inches with the same width. Just take him up a few inches. But I loved Gotti, obviously. I loved Monster. I really liked Paddington, Razor's Edge Paddington. I really liked Razor's Edge Throwing Knuckles. But I mean, big shouts to Gray Line. I mean, Gotti was great.
Yeah.
But I also loved, you know, his father, Raider. Like when I seen the photos of him, he blew me away too. But just recently, I found out about ADBA doing that branch off for the working pit bulldog. They separated the American Pit Bull Terrier from the larger dogs with the questionable blood, like the Whopper, the Dagger, all those dogs. And what I see a lot of these guys cleaning these dogs up to be now, these, you know, they're weight pull dogs and personal protection dogs. And that's where I think the American Bullies should have went. The dog in your main picture kind of reminds me of that. They're thick, but man, these bastards can move. Like, they can really move.
Right. It's for some reason there, and I get it. You know, they've come up with, you know, the standard. I think one of the downfalls is I just look at it from an old school aspect of, if you use different breeds to create a dog, then that dog's a different breed. You know what I mean? So when I look at the, you know, the classes, you know, to me, the classic and the standard may be the same breed, but the standard and the pocket are definitely not the same breed. The XL and the pocket are definitely not the same breed. So to me, I think it's like, okay, let's go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, the first time I saw the pocket class photo of that one, I don't even know who the dog was, but not the pocket class. Sorry, the classic standard for the American Bully. It was that fawn looking dog. I really like that dog. I really, really like that dog. I just don't know who he was.
Is it standing on
the classic?
Yeah, is trying to think which dog it is. Is the dog standing on like up on a rock, like a boulder?
I don't remember. It was a the color looked like Paddington, but it was a very uniform, very chiseled dog.
Right, wasn't exaggerated or anything like that.
Yeah, it looked more like it just looked like a slightly beefier Amstaff,
right,
to me. And that dog, I always said, like, if I got into American Bullies, that was one of the directions I was thinking. And then the other direction was when I saw some of these XLs that were, you know, cleaner.
Right.
I like Craig's dog. What's that one dog? What is it? Chip? The dark blue with the cropped ears? I want to say his name was...
The one with the full ears.
That's Swiper.
I think probably Chip.
Yeah, I think...
Swiper's the one with the full ears.
Yeah, it was Chip. Yeah.
Okay.
He has the cropped ears. You know, he looks... The stance on him, he looks really clean. He's not over exaggerated. So as far as XLs, I like that. But I don't know. It's just there's too many bully camps out there for me to want to get involved. And
Gotcha.
like I've always said, like, why am I gonna make a product that already exists? You know, the guys that have been in the game, you know, for years, they already have programs. They're already doing their thing, you included. I know you breed bullies.
Yeah.
But a lot of these guys, you know, you guys have been doing it for years and years and years. So you're already established in that lane. I feel like whatever I do, I want to come in at the bottom floor. You know, I want to come in. And that's why I said my idea was, you know, an American Sentinel with a kind of a Borbal twist on it, you know.
Got you.
Because then it's just my thing.
Add your own touch.
Yeah, and not only that, I don't plan on breeding on a massive scale. You know, 10, 20, 30 dogs. I'm cool with 10, like me, you know. Yeah. Enough for my little collection, and if somebody wants to buy a dog, cool, you know. But yeah.
And speaking along those lines, you know, because I'm kind of the same way as me and my cousin. We're kennel partners, but at the same time, even with it being two of us, two different locations, we're still not into breeding fast and having a bunch of puppies. And, you know, because like I see breeders now and, man, every 3 months, 3 to 6 months, they've got a litter going. You know what I mean?
Right.
When, to me, that's just way different from what I'm used to. When I was young, that's what we called a puppy mill. Didn't matter how fancy your kennel setup was. Didn't matter how clean the dogs were. When you were pushing out dogs that way, and we knew you couldn't really spend time developing your dog's condition, whatever it was you were into.
Exactly.
We know, okay, you're a puppy mill, you know. And if we're in competition with you, and you've got a name because you're pushing puppies, then we looked at it like that's our angle. We know you can't spend time with your dogs the way we could spend time with our dogs. And that was the mentality we had when we were young. And now getting into the bully game, it's almost like that's the norm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have some people, they don't even have a name yet, but they've got 10, 15 dogs. They've got a litter coming out every few months. And I think a lot of the internet has two things I love is music and dogs. And I think the internet has really brought down the expectations and lowered the standards and made what used to not be good normal. So now all of a sudden it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely lowered the bar. It was a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. How do you think what's the things that you kind of notice when, you know, and especially like, bam, okay, you decide I'm going to look for a doorbell, and I'm assuming it probably started off with the internet. What are the things that you kind of notice when dealing with, you know, our new age of internet breeders, which is pretty much what they are?
Well,
like what made you finally pinpoint a person like, okay, bam, this is reality. I've gotten through the whole virtual world and found reality. What did you kind of experience doing?
Well, that? I didn't really see. I know. Well, I'll say it like this. I noticed with every large breed, there's always a show type, and there's always a more athletic working type.
Very true.
And I'll say, I ran into Roman on the internet, and you know, sorry, not too many years ago, I converted to Christianity, and so we clicked off that way, you know, talking about the Bible and things of that nature, and me and the wife, a couple years back, were thinking about going to buy a dog from him, and then we had a lot going on at the time, so I was like, let's hold off, you know. And eventually, you know, me and him still kept in contact. We were still talking as friends, and eventually he hit me up, man. He was like, hey, I'd love for you and, you know, your beautiful family to raise one of my dogs, and give basically an example of how much of a great personal protection dog this dog can be, and you know, that sort of thing. And at first I was puzzled. You know, I don't believe him. You know, you want to give me a dog? You know,
right?
I'm like, all
That's
right.
a blessing.
And he was like, no, man, you know, it's just, you know, God has great plans for you. And, you know, I told him all my ideas on band dogs and things. And, you know, God has great plans for you. And I would just really love for you and your family to raise one of these specimens, you know, your way, and really, really put them out there. And we drove out to Fayetteville and picked him up. And he's an amazing person, man. He's a really good dude. But I was looking around at boar bulls, but I couldn't find that athletic edge. Now, he has a bunch of boar bulls. Some are the really large, I mean, tiger size, you know, boar bulls.
Right.
And he has the one Raptor, who's only 125 pounds and a bit more athletic. Actually, I think I shared a video not too long ago of them tearing up a boar that approached them in the woods.
Okay.
But Raptor was a bit more athletic. He was, I guess they call it more of the hound type boar bull. And Yoshi's mother, Sophia, I think it's Sophia. She had more of the bully look, not the giant mastiff look to her, but she just had a bigger head, bigger body, just bulkier. And so they had an amazing looking litter. And I told him what I wanted. I said, I don't want the biggest one. I want the feistiest one out of the litter. And that's the one he handpicked for me. And but one thing I did want to say, going back to the puppy mill topic, is I'm glad you touched on that, because I've heard it said that, you know, a dog is only as good as the handler 90%. So if you have no relationship with your dog, if the dog, you know, if you don't spend, you know, quality time with the dogs, you know, and you know, interact with them and train them and things like that, you know, that's another reason I got to give a big shout to Lee, because I mean, the man has 30 dogs and still spends, you know, once he gets back from his you know, career job, spends every minute of the day with them. And a lot of people don't think a lot of people have the balls or the drive to do that. Yet they're dreaming about it. They think they will, but they don't really have the get up and go to handle something like that. And that's one thing I realized about myself. So that's why I said, you know, I had dreams, big dreams like that, but I was like, when you tell yourself the truth, you know, it's like, I don't know, maybe I can handle 6, maybe 10. You know, if I'm breeding, maybe I'll have 6 breeding dogs, and then maybe I got a few keepers, you know, fine. That much I can handle, I think, with the right setup. Right. But the other thing that I wanted to point out to people is, you can make money with your dog without breeding it. You know, like, there's plenty of ways to make money with the dog without breeding it. Like, for example, let's look at Marlin and the Hulk. Yeah. Even if he wasn't breeding, the amount of money he made off YouTube alone, you know what I mean? Like, it's not always. I think the problem and the reason why it's so saturated, just like the music industry, is that everybody gets a male or a female, and they automatically want to get the opposite sex, and they automatically want to breed the dogs. Or they'll fall in love and say, well, I love my dog so much that I'm kennel blind, and I'm kennel blind, and I don't see the flaws in it because I refuse to, and I'm going to breed it anyway. You know, like, I love Yoshi, but if he doesn't develop the drives I want, and if there's something about him that I don't like, then I'm not going to reproduce anything off of him. Now, little flaws I can get away with. You know, like, if he's a bit too heavy, well, that doesn't matter. He's getting bred to an American Pit Bull Terrier. You know what I mean? So what difference does that make? Right. But if he has, like, if he grows up and his paws start turning inward or outward, or he doesn't have enough angulation, or his rear is trash, like, I'm not going to breed him. It's just,
gotcha.
If you're going to be a part of this game, add to it. Don't take from it, because all you're doing. When I said this in my to breed or not to breed video, I broke down the numbers to people, and I said, the more that something is available, the less it's worth. If there's 10 breeders in your city, great. If you live in a big city and there's 10 good breeders that sell good dogs to good families, fine. But if those 10 breeders sell dogs to people who want to breed as well, then the price of all the dogs in that city is going to go down if people want to buy locally. You see what I mean?
True.
It's just like the diamond industry. They throw away so many diamonds that they mine from those caves to keep the price of these rare stones up. You know what I mean? So it's like the same thing with the dog game. It used, I know you can get American bullies for 10, 20 grand now, but in 10 years, 15 years from now, you'll be paying 500. Bet me money on that. You know what I mean? Like the game.
Well, it's getting there. It's really getting there. And let me say, people who are going on, for some reason, some of the comments from Facebook I'm seeing, some of them I'm not. So for us to guarantee see your comments, go over to YouTube, Throw Bullies YouTube, and then that way we'll guarantee be able to see your comments. If you guys happen to have any questions, you can throw those in. But I notice I'm seeing some comments from Facebook, and then other ones I'm not. So I'm not sure why the system is not picking all of them up. But and then also, when you do go over to YouTube, make sure you guys go to Bred K9s and that you guys subscribe to Erik Lawton's page. He's got a lot of great information on there for you guys to pull from, regardless of what breed you're in. If you're just looking to talk dogs and hear about dogs, it's a great YouTube channel to go to, and that's Bred K9s. But yeah, I think that's what it is the internet has made it popular. It's like I was looking at this, like when I go out, we've got King. When King goes out, he just grabs attention. I mean, people will stop their cars. It's just because he's so huge. When they look at him, nobody thinks pit bull. They don't know what to think. You know what I mean? They're just like, they know it's a dog. That's it. They don't know what kind of dog he is. They don't get it. And we have to explain to them. When I take Cardi Bull out, it's the same thing, but they take guesses. She's not as big, so they'll take guesses. Rarely do we say American Bully. No one's heard of it. And what I've started realizing is, because I just saw a few articles about a month ago, and it's hard to make it come up fastest growing dog breed, because then the first thing that comes up is Great Dane and all the big dog breeds. So it's hard to word it right. But every now and then I was able to find it where it was talking about American Bullies being one of the fastest growing dog breeds. And in the US, one of them said the world. But yet no one knows they exist. So to me, that means it's just a bunch of breeders buying these dogs and selling dogs and trading dogs to each other, and it hasn't hit the masses yet. And one of my things, like when me and my cousin are talking, it's like, we've got to respect the standard. We've also got to respect the species. We also got to make sure that we're on top of the fact that this is going to switch up and possibly evolve into something other than what everybody thinks it is right now. And we were kind of forced to make sure that we got dogs that please people, because my cousin was breeding Cane Corsos. I was breeding kind of, I guess you call it band dogs, but I was breeding more dogs for catch work, home protection, but on a smaller scale than band dogs. I had a 3/4 old family red nose. He's 3/4 old family red nose Norod line. He's 1/4 boxer. And then I crossed him with a Razor's Edge female. And she was great with protection. She was cool back up because I had a bull lurcher at the same time, which is why I got him to kind of back her up. And then I got her to kind of back him up. And she was great with protection, wasn't as hardy as he was, as far as colliding with a hog, a coyote, whatever it was. Coyotes she loved. The hogs had her that was a little much for her as a razor's edge dog. But the coyotes she loved. And I started breeding them, and they made good catch dogs. They've also made good protection dogs, and for a variety of situations. And so we knew, and then all of a sudden I stopped breeding. My cousin had the Cane Corsos, then he stopped breeding. And it was only for about maybe 3-4 years. But we started, when we got back into it, it was like, okay, we've got a clientele that we kind of have to please before we get off into this internet bully thing. You know what I mean? And so our last 2-3 litters, that's what it's been focused on, making sure that those people are getting what they would have wanted from us and explaining to them what the American bully is. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's really gotten into people who they're not looking at temperament. When they are looking at temperament, like I always say, as long as it doesn't need a baby, they look at it like that's a great temperament. You know what I mean? And it's so much more to it that's ignored that it's just becoming mass production. But it's all breeders, and that's what's weird about it. Like very few, I should say, are really stepping outside of that. Whereas when I look at other breeds, it's pet home people that are trying to get good quality dogs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of weird is the internet brought this little weird group of people together that are just trading American bullies back and forth.
Yeah.
And to me, it's kind of losing. It might be getting what they want, but it's losing what the dog world wants. They've just gotten lucky it hasn't hit the masses yet. You know what I mean? So what's kind of your outlook and when you kind of see that taking place? So I see it a little bit more in other breeds. So I think it's coming to them. I think it just hit the bullies extremely hard. You know what I mean? And right off the bat. Well,
it's like whatever happened to just having a dog and enjoying it,
Bam.
I don't think that 90% of the population should even own a dog, let alone, and not 90% of the population. I'm saying, let me figure out how to say this. I don't think that certain people should even own a dog, let alone breed. And I've said this before, and I know a lot of people got mad at me. I think you should have to have a license to own a dog that can be dangerous. And I think you should have, I think that license should have to be, I think you should need further certification to be able to breed. Maybe even a touch of veterinary experience. I'm not saying you have to go to college for 4-8 years to be a vet. I'm just saying some sort of knowledge of whelping and what to do with if a puppy's not breathing. Just the stuff you learn over the years. There should be a certain certification before somebody could just jump into breeding. And a lot of people, I agree with people when they. I agree and I disagree with people when they get mad at me because it's like, well, that's just taking away more of our liberties and da-da-da-da. I get that. Now, if you're a farmer who has, you're breeding some dogs for a certain job and, the ones you don't use, you sell to families, great. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I've seen people who live in apartments, back where I'm from, who had litters of puppies. Hell, I'm guilty of it at one point. I had an accidental litter, I had to make this makeshift, whelping box in my kitchen with a fan pointing out the window. That was, 10 years ago, but I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've made my mistakes in the dog world. Don't get me wrong. But after gathering all the knowledge I've gathered, and after seeing the statistics of what happens to so many dogs, because people think they want this big bad dog, and then they automatically want to breed it, and they get their hands full, and a dog that should be $1,000, they end up selling for $3 because they want to hurry up and get rid of them. because they're tired of picking up piss and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I've seen it happen.
Yep.
And basically,
yep.
Going back to what happened to just having a dog, you know, and I think people need to do a bit more research into what kind of dog is good for them. Everybody's situation's different. And I think in a lot of ways, an American Bully could almost fit in anywhere. But with that said,
yeah, this is true.
With that said, there is a lot of guys who, you know, get this big, scary looking dog and they think that it's going to protect their house. And 90% of the time, that's not the case either. I remember my martial arts trainer back in New York, we were talking about bodybuilders, and he always used to say, but can he use it? Like, you know, see these big giant guys walking around. Well, can he use it? Because, I mean, there's 120, 140 pound, you know, XL bullies out there. And, you know, there's 45 pound American Pit Bull Terriers that would wreck them, you know, exactly. I mean, just like that. And so when people want to get a dog for an intimidation factor, I say right away, just don't get a dog. You might as well jump behind the wheel of a car not knowing how to drive, because the lawsuits, the liabilities, I mean, you could end up in jail or worse. You know, you could end up in prison for life for your dog killing somebody, you know. So I think at the end of the day, I mean, we've covered the statistics of, you know, saturation in the dog game. We've covered, you know, responsible selection and ownership. And let me say this also. When it comes down to selecting your breed, understand that, you know, just because, you know, you're getting a Rottweiler doesn't mean, you know, you should be intimidated thinking he's going to be a big, vicious, scary dog. My Rottweiler's completely under control. He's shown aggression a few times when it was warranted. I never really tested him. He's just been my, you know, my house dog, you know. But when upon, you know, further inspection of a breed you like, make sure when you go see the litter that you're getting the puppy out of that litter that's meant for you. If you got little kids in your house, you don't want the wild one who's bouncing all over the kennel. You probably want the one that's in the back chilling, minding his own business, you know.
Exactly.
I think that's what leads to a lot of the accidental bites and things like that, is just understanding dog behavior. I mean, hell, it's tragic when it happens. I mean, when my daughter was really little, that was a huge fear of mine. And all my dogs loved her, but it was still a fear of mine. So when all the dogs were loose in the living room,
think about it.
Yeah, let's take her out. Let's put her in her play area away from the dogs, you know. And then I would only let her around one or two of the dogs when I was right there with her. And they weren't riled up, you know. That would be after I worked them, you know, either flirt pole or spring pole, or did something with them outside. They're out of breath, they're chilling. And, you know, then she could pull on the ears and stuff, but I still tried to stop her from doing that. You know, like, it's still an animal.
Exactly. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's still an animal, man. It's got sharp teeth. And no, their jaws don't lock, people. They don't lock, but they are very strong. They're very strong.
Exactly.
They can, some of these dogs could snap off the arm of a full-grown man. So, I mean, my dog would never do that to my child. It's an animal, ladies and gentlemen. It's an animal. You know, you never know. You don't know what it's thinking.
Exactly.
I could have a bad day just like you and me, you know. But
that's the truth.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
But yeah.
So yeah, I think that's yeah. So no, I agree with you. People do need to with homes that is, because I've been doing a lot of consulting over the phone because of the internet, and you know, it's kind of giving me the perception, because I'm more used to, until COVID hit, I was always dealing with people, you know, face to face, you know, different clients or whatever, going to their homes, working with. I try to avoid obedience training. It's just not my thing. I more prefer dealing with behavioral issues, you know, aggression issues, things like that. And you know, you going to people's homes. It's like what I always do is I first get there and I let them know I'm not going to interact with your dog. You know, if you live far, then I'll show up the first 15, 20 minutes. I'm not going to interact with your dog. You're just going to tell me what you're looking for, da, da, da. And then my head, I'll kind of be putting together, okay, what needs to be done. And, you know, if they live far, then I'll go ahead and I'll start working with the dog then. If they don't, then I leave, I go home, I figure out what's the best thing to do, then I go back and we get it started. But so much of it is a lot of people, it wasn't that they picked the wrong breed, but it's like you said, they just picked the wrong pup. You know, like this pup was not good for your environment, your home. Another thing is people are on different pages. You know, I'll tell people, okay, when I get there, try to make sure you have, we're going to do 3 sessions, make sure your entire family's there for at least 2 of them. You know, because I can say one thing to the wife, she's got it down, bam. And then the next time I show up, the husband's doing something totally opposite, you know, and people, a lot of times they don't understand how conflicting that is to the dog, you know, and they're just bred to kind of handle what we throw at them naturally. Yeah. But they're not really handling it naturally. Your byproduct is typically something that we don't want them doing or we don't like them to do, you know what I mean? So you're 100% right when you say that. A lot of it is just about don't grab that first puppy that ran to you. Really kind of look and think about. But I also, breeders, I think, need to be a little more involved in that selection process also. You know, because sometimes the family, they're just excited to get a dog and they don't think about it.
Right, and that too. Actually, that's a good point, because sometimes the breeder will just you know pick which one you want, go ahead, and but the responsible breeders that won't do that, they'll sell you more what they think you need. People get pissed at them too. Right. People get pissed at them. No, I want that one, and they're like, well, especially the guys that have been dealing with these dogs for years and years and years. It's like, no, you don't. Trust me, no, you don't. Ever since John Wick 3 came out, everybody wants a Malinois. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't.
Yeah, you definitely. That's a whole another level of drift.
I call that the game dog of the herding world. Like that is a wild dog.
And from jump, even as pups, they are just ready to go. It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's like they came out of nowhere, and that temperament is pretty consistent from Malinois to Malinois. Yeah. I don't think I've come across any that there was a difference.
I was going to Coastal Dog Sports here in my area and just trying to learn some things from them. It was a little club kind of get together, and very cool people. I haven't been there in a while, but I've been thinking about going back. But they had me do some decoy work, try the sleeve, do all this stuff. But But one of the ladies that was there had a Malinois, and I mean, right out the gate, this dog, he wanted to bite immediately. And as soon as he saw the sleeve, it was a battle cry, rah, rah, like that. I mean, these dogs, if you go online to the listeners, if you go online and look at a litter of Malinois puppies, and the breeder walks into the fence, they're all literally latched on to his legs and his arms, and he's swinging them. And these are little puppies. So that's a good point. Their temperament doesn't really differ too much. Those are pretty imprinted the way they are. They are the way they are. In fact, I would think even more so these days than the American Pit Bull Terrier.
I'd agree. I would agree.
The American Pit Bull Terrier's gameness used to be so imprinted because that's all they were breeding for, but that's faded. I think the Malinois is probably the only breed I could think of off the top of my head that has that imprinted attitude. No, it doesn't matter which one you pick. It's a killer, guaranteed.
Yeah. That's the truth.
But I don't think, I'll honestly say at this point in my life, I couldn't handle one of those. I couldn't do it. Me personally,
it's a lot. Yeah. There's no chill time.
You got to have and you got to have, they have to be trained, not just consistently, but constantly.
Yes.
Like, I mean, they're beautiful. I mean, I'd love to have one, but I'd have to have a whole kennel set up and everything, you know, a bulletproof damn kennel just to have one, you know. But yeah, I mean, that just goes to show, you know, like I said, John Wick comes out and everybody wants a Malinois. It just shows that popularity can be a really bad thing.
Yes.
Especially, you know, I see that happen in the bully community. When I like we were talking about earlier, man, out the gate when I saw the everybody was selling Razor's Edge Gotti line UKC pit bulls. When that was first happening, I was like, my God, those are gorgeous. You know, just absolutely amazing. And then it's well, we'll make them shorter, wider. Now a lot of them, not saying everybody, but now I see the micros and the exotics, these things. Some of them look like they have Down syndrome and dwarfism, and it's like
they do.
I mean, that in my mind, I mean, I know it's not in the good book, but man, that's a sin. You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that on purpose?
Exactly. That's
a train wreck, man. And they're the most expensive. They're more expensive than any other bully.
Yeah.
50,000, 70,000. Well, like, what, like, why?
Yeah, like, and even at their shows, their stud fees are like 5,000 and up, no less. You know, the dogs are going for, I think there was one just sold recently for like 500,000. I just saw some post the other day. And I mean, you know, the popularity of them is growing. But like you said, it is like when I see them and, you know, they're all partying around, the dogs just are sitting there on this table. And I automatically notice things. So if I see you jumping around the dog, but the dog don't notice, another dog just got plopped down right by him on the table. The dog don't turn his head. He don't sniff. I'm like, you know, and they're talking about how, you know, my dog is staying here for forever and won't move. And it's like, man, it's because he can't. And his brain's not even fully functional. So you didn't train him to do this.
You're paying $50,000 for something that, and it's going to die in 5 years. I mean,
man, yeah,
it's going to die in 5 years.
You brought that up. I'm seeing more and more the life expectancy, and when I say expectancy, I'm talking about what breeders are saying. Of dogs. I've heard some of the craziest things over this summer. I noticed more and more XLs dying during the summer. Everybody's got a different reason. I just look at it like it's funny all these various things happen during the summer when you got to breed the dogs to be shorter and wider. When we went to an XL show, Cinco de Mayo here in California, we took 2 of our dogs there, and you know, and it was hot, but they did well. And we didn't have a booth. Next year we'll get a booth. But even without a booth, you know, they did well walking around, standing in the sun. You know, there's a couple people we knew. Shout out to Fred Duran. He had a booth. We went and kicked it under there for a little bit just to give him a breath and some water. But a lot of the dogs were really struggling. And on the way home, we saw this car up ahead pull over kind of fast. You saw dirt kind of kick up off the side of the road. And sure enough, when we got up to them, I'm like, they're having an issue with their dog. So my son and I exited, we came back, pulled over, and sure enough, the guy's dog was in the car overheating. And I had lemon juice and everything, just and some rubbing alcohol, just in case, you know, anything went wrong with our dog. So I went ahead, tended to the dog. he actually was doing okay. I think he was just more having a hard time with the foam. So once I hit him up with the lemon juice and everything, that was pretty much it. We didn't really need to rub him down. And then after that, they just kind of, I was like, you're just gonna have to turn your air conditioner on full blast. Don't even drive yet. Just chill. Let him chill. And so the guy hit me up the next day on Facebook and thanked me and everything. And so he said the dog was doing fine because I told him he probably doesn't need it, but go ahead and take him to the vet anyway, just to get him checked and everything. You don't know what type of damage can be done, and all I saw was what I saw when I got there. I don't know how long he was in. So
Okay.
do you see me? Okay, there we
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
A lot of people disagree with some of the thoughts that I have in the bully community when it comes to the health and what is going too far with the structure of the dogs. And I'll bring up, hey, if your dog is built like that at 120, 130, 140 pounds, he's not going to live long. You're going to get 5, 6, maybe 7 years. And lately, the response to that has been, well, that's all they need, or 6 years is good enough, 7 years. And it's like, dude, I've had dogs 17 years.
Wow.
I've had dogs 15 years, 14. My old man right now is 15 wandering around. He still gets on my nerves.
Right.
What?
Damn.
I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, I just see that, and these are breeders. These aren't, people buying a dog for a pet and saying, I just want it for 6 years. These are breeders who are satisfied with a dog that only lives 6, 7 years.
Right.
I also notice in the bully community, a dog can die at 6, 7, and people will continue breeding to, the offspring. Now, if it's a large dog, I guess I might get it a little more, especially if you plan on bringing down the size. But a lot of times, we don't even know what they died of. We just know they died at 5 or 6 years
Right.
old. And, they do the little, especially if it's a popular dog, then he'll get the little halo wings for the day, on Facebook and all that.
Yeah.
But people are still, looking to breed to it. And it's like, dude, what are you breeding into your yard? Why is it not mattering to you? You know what I mean? It's a truly different mentality. You know what I mean? And that's why it's like a lot of others, and even some in the bully community.
Yeah.
It's almost refreshing to know, like, there's still something here that can make dogs work. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean,
what
dogs are supposed to be.
Yeah, but I think it should be common sense. I mean, if you weigh 400 pounds and you've been eating McDonald's your whole life, you're probably going to die at a young age.
Uh-huh.
That's just the way it is. Now, I'll use my Rottweiler for an example. He's 8 years old. There's not a gray hair on him. And when we pull out the ball and throw it across the yard, I mean, he turns into a crackhead. Like, he will go and go and go
Exactly.
and go and go until he's about to fall over. And this is in the summertime, And yeah, I live in the Myrtle Beach area of South Carolina. It gets hot and humid.
Okay, so yeah, you get hot, yeah.
Yeah, and he'll just go and go and go. I would stay out there longer with him if it wasn't for all the damn mosquitoes, But let me ask you this though. I've never experienced a dog overheating, but what is the lemon juice and rubbing alcohol thing?
A lot of what it is, but one, I always tell people, get your dog out in the heat. Play a little bit of fetch, pet them, let your dog get used to the heat. The other thing I tell people is when it's not hot, work your dog a little bit. Give them, even if it's just take them on their regular walks, whatever it is, but have 2 to 3 days a week where you push them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Where they're actually, I kind of have a rule, especially when I was younger, people's dogs, and I always had this rule that when they were drooling, that was exercise. You know what I'm saying? What was it? When they're panting, it's exercise. When they're drooling, it's conditioning. The minute that drool starts to turn into bubbles, that's when the dog's starting to overheat. It's starting to run out of the drool that it's using to cool itself off. So
Okay.
my thing back then always is that's what I would, I would time dogs to see how long it took for them to actually start, for the drool to start drooling, and then for the drool to turn into bubbles, just so I could make sure that they're constantly progressing. Because once it turns into bubbles, we're done. And then I time them on how long it took for them to recover. When it comes overheating, it's two things. One, the dog's getting hot, but two, the dog is panicking. And dogs, they don't panic like we panic. Their heart just starts beating faster, but they look the same. They still have the same expression, but it's the combination between the two. So I always tell people, if you condition your dog, get your dog used to the heat, be careful, but also condition your dog, especially in the cooler months. Condition your dog 2 to 3 days a week. Push them to where they're drooling, not just panting.
Mm-hmm.
So that way the dog knows how it feels to recover. Because like when I'm doing the flirt pole and everything with the dogs, or the spring pole, first thing I do is pour their water out. I want them to cool off on their own. And a dog that's in shape can recover in about 3 to 5 minutes. Out of shape, take them 5 to 8 minutes. You know what I mean? Some dogs, depending on the size, the build, they might take about 10 minutes. But most dogs will recover, and then that's when I'll go ahead and give them the water, because I want them to know how it feels, especially when you get out there in the woods and the dogs are running. A lot of times they might run 2 miles, then hit a hog. Now they're in a full-fledged fight. You get there, you break it up. You got to hobble the hog or put the hog down. You're celebrating because you forget to give the dogs water right away. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I want them to know what it feels like to recover, so that they don't panic in that mode. So what I always tell people is, push your dog so they can recover. If you're in a situation where they do start to overheat, one of the things you're going to notice is the foam of the mouth. That foam not only is letting you know the dog's overheating and that the dog's dehydrated, but it's a double-edged sword, because it also makes the dog harder to breathe. When you squirt that lemon juice in their mouth, it just eats up that foam, clears it out like right away. And
Okay.
you'll notice all of a sudden the dog can start breathing. Another thing I do with the rubbing alcohol is, if you can get the rubbing alcohol in their pads behind the ears, because the alcohol evaporates so fast, it pulls the heat from the dog. Behind the ears, I don't do a lot of ice. What I will try to do, if the dog is laying down, I will try to pour ice in front of the dog, so that the air that he breathes out and back in starts to help cool him off. You don't want to. Now, I've always heard over the last 5 to 10 years, you don't just douse a dog in cold water. I've never seen that happen before, and I have seen situations where we've had, matter of fact, it was 2 beagles, I remember, and they were overheating, and we had to dump them in water. We actually poured the water from the cooler on them. They didn't go into shock. So I'm not telling people to do that. What I would suggest is rubbing the water on them to cool them off, but apparently people have had situations where the temperature changes so quick does send them into shock. But those are the methods I've always used to kind of cool the dogs down. If I notice the dog overheating, then that's what I always do. When you start seeing that foam, if you squirt that lemon juice in their mouth, it helps clear their throat out of the foam and everything.
You have to write that one down. Definitely. Yeah. I always do these. I've been doing these little quick tip videos, or all the little hacks that I find over the year. I'll have to write that one down and make a video on it and give you a shout out for it. Looks like you went out. I don't see you on screen anymore. Oh, loading.
Oh, there we go. Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, I never heard of that. That's good. That's good stuff. That makes sense too.
Yeah, it will definitely. It saves a lot of dogs. Especially bullies and exotics.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
It saves a lot of them.
Yeah, that
dude, before we jump off of here, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, when you mentioned the dog shows and everybody jumping around and doing all that with the dog standing still, that was a turn off for me. I've never even been to a dog show, but seeing that kind of energy in the room, it's just, that's too loud. It's still a little too crazy for me. I like things calm.
you can see the dog's eyes. They're just bulged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then those dogs that aren't bulged, just like there's nothing going through their brain anyway. So it doesn't matter if they're on a roller coaster or just chilling at home. They're just kind of a little yard ornament. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just so many people that are inexperienced, but at the same time, so many people that just don't take the dog into consideration. Like,
right.
If the dog can't tell you it doesn't like it, then he must like it. You know what I mean? And that's just how, unfortunately, a lot of people look at it.
Right.
Before we get off of here, let people know before we even go into that, before we get off, what would you want to say to the dog world, especially the online community of dog people? From everything that you've been seeing, what's something that you would definitely want people to kind of take note of?
Put breeding dead last. That would be number one. Put breeding dead last. Enjoy your dogs. Like, enjoy having a dog, and don't be kennel blind. If your dog doesn't have what it takes to breed, now band dogs are one thing. That's performance, based on biting and getting the job done, not quitting and things like that. But if you're into sporting dogs, weight pull, all that kind of thing, get your dog actually involved in that. Get your dog winning some titles, prove he can do it. If you're into show dogs, no problem. But make sure you're really, really health testing those show dogs before you breed them. Make sure they have good hips, elbows. Make sure you not only have a pedigree, because everybody's lying now. So make sure you not only have a pedigree, have a DNA profile to back that up. I mean, I know even that could be falsified, but still try to cement what you have. Know that it's the shit, then breed it.
There you go.
And but like I said, number one, enjoy having a pet. Just love the dog. Be with the dog. Figure out if you can handle one dog and you love that dog, the dog loves you, you work with that dog, whether it's play or sport or whatever, take that same dog and imagine having X amount of those. Then start thinking about breeding. So it's like, oh man, I really don't want to get up this early to let him out right now. Okay, it's just him. Imagine having 5.
Right.
Can you handle that? So put breeding dead last. Stack your dog's value up first. Value over everything. If your dog is the shit, prove it. Don't say your dog's the shit just because you love your dog. It might be a nice dog, but prove it. Add as much value as you can. And at the end of the day, it's a win-win if you do end up breeding, because it's like, do you sell a dog just because he has papers for $500? Or have you stacked up trophies on him? He's DNA profiled. He's got good hips, good joints, everything. Now you could sell a puppy for $5,000. Exactly. So if you're going to do it, play the game right. I haven't even started a breeding program yet, and I've been obsessed with dogs for decades.
There you go. Exactly.
So yeah, that's what I'd probably say. My final statement. Yeah.
Okay. So let everybody know where they can get a hold of you, where they can see you at, and then we'll go ahead and sign off.
All right. So main website, battlebredk9s.com. We also have battlebredmerch.com, where I have all my t-shirts, battlebred apparel, all that good stuff. TikTok I'm working on. It's not really, I only got a few videos. I know it's a new platform, but I hear there's money in it, so give it a shot. So TikTok at Battlebred K9s, Instagram at Battlebred K9s, and then here on Facebook, just look me up, Erik Lawton. And YouTube, obviously, / Battlebred K9s. But yeah, if you do want to check out the music, it's not that much of a buzz yet. It's just Cell 12 Music at YouTube. It's not a custom URL, so you just got to search Cell 12 Music, CELL, the number 12, and music. And I don't have any of my actual songs on there anymore. It's just beats and instrumentals. You know, since I went through my spiritual change, I kind of took down all my old music. But
Okay.
I still
Now,
produce.
if I'm not mistaken, you I think on one of your videos you were saying something about people can use your music if they want,
Yeah.
and they can
If
give it
you
to you.
wanna
Okay.
if you wanna like snatch a beat off my YouTube channel and just use it for your video, or you know, if you want to put a 16 to it or whatever, as long as you're not trying to make money off of it. Now, with that said, if you have a
Right.
monetized channel and you want to use one of my beats, go ahead. It's fine. Just put that. Just if they come up with a copyright claim, just say you have permission to use it. It's fine. I don't care.
Okay.
But I'd like
And
it
that's
if you
Cell
gave.
12.
Yeah, Cell 12 Music on YouTube. And obviously just put, you know, music by Cell 12 Music in the description. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah. And how is Cell 12? CELL?
Yeah, CELL
Okay.
12 and music.
Okay. Cool. So everybody check that out when you're doing your dog videos and stuff. You can get some
Yeah.
music in
Oh
the
man, I got some
background.
bangers on there. I think a lot of people would be surprised. I've been producing for
For
15
sure. I'm gonna
years.
check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, I
Okay.
appreciate being on here, man. I appreciate the love.
Hey, thanks for joining, man. Much respect to you, everything that you're doing. I'm glad you joined on and agreed to do the interview. I think we covered some pretty good topics and went in depth on some things. So, man, salute to you. And I want to thank everybody else for joining on. I will be back next Tuesday at the same time doing Dog Talk Tuesdays. And we out.